Hello and welcome back. Here today we'll talk about rendering a square using Pygame, here in this complete series on learning how to use Pygame. Anyway, for more information, if you want to follow along with your journey and document your information, you can check out my workbook out there on the web somewhere in the web. But anyway, things we've already talked about a bit about before using Pygame. You can actually initialize Pygame by calling it Pygame init. You can determine what type of vision mode you have using the display.set underscore mode function. You can clear the background screens we'll talk about later. So the crucial part of changing the background using the screen.fill function. Determine what size. Here we will be utilizing the rect structure, right? So if you're not familiar with structures, they actually have components. So when we use the draw feature, this is kind of a quick overview of how this will work. It has different attributes that are associated with it. When we have initialize Pygame, right, and then we call the draw function, there are different geometric primitives like lines and points, and some of them have different object attributes. One of those object attributes sometimes is this dimensions with width and height and things, but other things that go along with those width and height dimensions of those objects is the color and the distribution of that. So, and then after we get the things that are associated with it, we can just push it onto the screen, call and flip it. But anyway, at the terminal, in this quick example of how this will work, using Pygame, if we're using terminals, using Linux for this process, you import the Pygame module, you initialize things, we're drawing a square, you determine the size, width of the screen, height and width. We can define the colors of the background being white, and this color object, remember colors are triples, red, green, blue values there, and we can determine where we want it to be on the screen by having a Pygame.rect and this X and Y location and this height and width of that object. We would determine it as a value. We have a game loop there, we draw it, we put it in the background, we determine the square. A lot of times in your video game projects, it will be a rectangle, call display flip, Pygame.quit to turn off, and system.exit to terminate the window for that. Anyway, to clear the screen in the terminal, you type clear there. But anyway, to display the projects, two projects we've already done. We've done Hello World and we've done the square here. Okay, to compile programs, you type Pygame 3, well, Python 3 there. And then you type the name of your file. You can actually copy and paste in the terminal if no one ever told you that you can. You press enter, and then we have a square on the screen. So in a bit, we'll talk about how to move this square around and make it do things that we want to do for our game projects. That's a pretty quick and simple illustration about what goes on there. And the things we can do for this object here, we can change the color of the object. We can change it to blue or green or red. So first color is red. It's 0 to 256, but it's start from 0 to it's n-1, right? So 0 to 255. So we can set that value to blue. We'll just color this variable blue there that stores the value we need it to be, and then we can change that value to 0, and then red, green, blue, right? So the third value is one we would manipulate in order to change it to which number we want it to be. So we can actually change those numbers around. You actually play around with this if you want to, and change the color values for that. All right, so and also we change the which value which we're referring to as a square. We put it on the screen. It's a blue square. We have no manipulations on it, and then we have to save this file in order to compile it, right? So you need to save the file and then compile it for it to update the screen. So this is in the buffer right now until you save it. Once you save the file, there's ways to save it in the terminal. I'm doing this in a text editor, not using your regular interpreter. So we have to compile it again. So when we compile it again, it should change to blue, right? So anyway, so that's all we have to do. It should draw a square on the screen and change it to another color. Anyway, so we'll talk about how to move it around and make it shoot things. So I know people are working on people have contacted me about hundreds of other different projects and things about how to what they want to do for game projects. And so if you have any more comments or things, you can post, I'll talk to you about what we want to do or what we will try to do. And so as they come up and as they come along, we'll add more things to this particular project, and hopefully you'll have fun and learn how to do things using Python. And that's pretty much it for right now, and we'll go and learn some other things using Python, and I will see you in a bit.